Okay, last section of books. So I'll mention quickly, I just got this one in today. Public Intellectuals, A Study of Decline by Posner. So this will be part of my Intellectuals and Society series. I'll get to it eventually, depending on the feedback I get from Thomas Sowell's stuff. 2003 is this one. And also Ideology and Ideologists by Feuer. I just got this one in today as well. This is all about intellectuals and society, intellectuals and their effects on society, or whatever. 1975. Alrighty, the first one is John Locke. Some Thoughts Concerning Education. So I got this because I wanted a book on John Locke, because he's an important knowledge theorist. This was printed in, let's see here, I don't know. Is this a reprint, right? It's not an original publication. So John Locke is the tabula rasa guy. He's the blank slate guy. Everything comes out of experience. We can mold the child. We can pour knowledge into the child's head. We can make him whatever we want. So that's John Locke. Although I believe this book mentions that people misconceive John Locke's theory of knowledge, or theory of learning. I mean, they take the tabula rasa too far, that he didn't actually mean that you can just fill a kid's head with whatever, that it's any child can be anything you want. Kind of like that old, I don't know if it's a Jewish saying or what, about give me a child for the first 7 years and I will own him for life, or I can make him whatever I want as shopkeeper or a lawyer or whatever. I think people appropriate John Locke to that, but he doesn't go that far. So I thought I would find out. So that's that one. Alrighty, The Fighting Ships, A Brief History by Davies. Ships of the Line and Napoleonic Sea Battles. Napoleonic Sea Battles? I thought Napoleon only fought on land for France. But no, he actually, there was all kinds of naval conflict. 1996-2002. I think I got this at a book fair. I think it must have been cheap. Must have been $3 or $4. It's a nice book. A Brief History of. I think I have brief histories of Nazism and misogyny. Misogyny is about hatred of women. I think there are a brief history series too. I'll have to see though. I'll have to maybe put them up like this and see if they all look the same. I'm not even sure where I have those books. I can't see them from here. So, anyways. Alrighty, here is The Histories by Herodotus. Apparently this was the first historian in the world, or the first known historian in the world, a Greek, Herodotus. So, in knowing that, I think I should hear what he has to say. When was this printed? This was 54, 80. Yeah, this one's 80, but first published 54. So it talks about Egypt. Life, work, plan of the work, blah, blah, blah. All kinds of stuff, I guess. Okay, Machiavelli's The Prince. This is supposed to be an interesting book on politics, or like politics of the 1500s. So, it's supposed to be about manipulation, I guess. Yeah, so I will read it someday, but I have it, which is a good thing. Okay, I got this book also from the free Objectivist books. So there's Obar. It's called Obar. It's by Leonard Peikoff. Objectivism, the Philosophy by Ayn Rand. I don't know when I'll ever get to it, but I have it, and it was free. So I don't know if I'm going to really delve into it that much. I don't feel that I have enough information about philosophy in general to really dive into a philosophy. I think I should know general practices of philosophy, especially beginnings and axioms, especially where you begin with thinking, where you begin with metaphysics and reality and all that kind of stuff, before getting into this. Objectivism and Ayn Rand are not well regarded in academic circles. They're almost non-existent, although I should say my first year philosophy class, I'm not in philosophy by the way, I'm in education. I don't have an undergraduate degree in philosophy. I actually have an undergraduate degree in chemistry. I took an undergraduate course in philosophy, and the course was just about questions. Like, I think one of them was like, is capitalism compatible with justice? And something about selfishness. And the point of the course was that you would take an issue and there'd be two sides, and our teacher would present the two sides, and then we'd have to write on it. I thought it was a pretty good course, although I had no idea about philosophy or anything at the time. Perhaps was a different person. I didn't even know if I thought about anything in those times. It's strange. And don't ask me when I started thinking. I have no idea. It's all a blur. But Ayn Rand was mentioned in those courses. And she obviously was the selfishness part. I don't know how Ayn Rand was portrayed in the course. I don't remember. I had no idea about Ayn Rand, so if she was portrayed poorly, I wouldn't have known. So I don't remember. So Objectivism and Ayn Rand are not she's not mentioned very much in philosophical circles or academic philosophy. But my first year course did. That would have been in 2006. Or no, 2002. I'm older than that. But yes, where was I going with that? I have no idea. So I was saying that I think I should know more about philosophy in general before I would dive into a philosophy. So, alrighty, okay, this was a really good find. Mr. Cropper would definitely recommend this. The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. It's a beaten up copy. I think I got it for $1. 95 cents. 95 cents. It's a beaten up copy. As you can see, it's a bit ripped there. But it's tough to find a book like this, especially for $1. And if I ever want to get into the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, so that should be a clue what the Third Reich is, by Shirer, then I can. That's the difference between me and someone who doesn't have this book. When I choose, when I want, I can read this and look through it, flip to the chapters, and that's the point of owning the book and not necessarily reading it that second. So, I probably should. I've never taped a book. I wonder if I should tape it. There's a bit of tape here, but I think maybe I should tape this piece here. Man, this was a good find. All right, Paul Johnson. So if you see my Intellectuals in Society series, I don't know if I've even shown that book in like my library, but I don't know. I guess I've mentioned it. So I have Paul Johnson's Intellectuals, and here's Paul Johnson's A History of the English People. I think Paul Johnson also has a history of the American people, so he's quite the historian. Yeah, so if I ever want to flip through this, I can. I guess I'll give you the year, maybe. 72, 85. Okay, here's the Raw Expeditions by somebody. Hare something. I think, this was about, this, I think this is, yes, I'll just read this. The purpose of the Ra expeditions, Ra is a god in Egypt, by the way, god of the kingdom, was to prove a possible link between the civilization of ancient Egypt and the New World. To do this, it was necessary to sail a sea-going ship made of papyrus reeds, a type of ship not built for over 1,000 years, if ever, across the breadth of the Atlantic. So this was testing a hypothesis, whether it's possible that Egyptians actually made it across the Atlantic. Now it's unlikely, but it's possible. So that's why they wrote a book about it and did it, I guess. I guess they were successful, I'm not sure. Oh, there's a nice map here. So this is 71. Yeah. It's a nice map here of their journey. So I had to have that. It's only a couple bucks. Why not? Revisions in Mercantilism. So here's another economics book by Coleman. Printed in 69. Yeah. So it talks about mercantilism, mercantile state. So I think, yeah, mercantilism in Germany. So it's about, I want to say it's not about, well, it's free markets with tons of tariffs and crap. That's what mercantilism is. So it's fascism, sort of. Not quite. Not quite. Look it up on Wikipedia. Before the Industrial Revolution, European society and economy. So this is another commerce book. 1000 to 1700 AD. Second edition by Cipolla. So this was printed in 76, 80. Yeah. So another nice commerce book for flipping through. I wouldn't read that word for word. The Age of Unreason by Handy. I guess I was intrigued by the title. He is a professor. This is printed in 89, 90. Yeah. So this is about, I don't know. Looks like a bunch of random stuff. From now on, success and happiness will depend on an understanding of the boiled frog and other concepts. So what that refers to is, apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, I bet you there's a damn YouTube video of it. Apparently if you take a frog, put him in a pot of water, and then heat the water up, because the water changes gradually, the frog will stay in the water and cook itself, or be cooked. The water gets to boiling, but the frog just sits in there because there's no drastic change in temperature. He'll just sit there and be cooked. That's what that is. So, I'm not sure what this is about, but yeah. Maybe I should mention, because of the frog, I'm reading right now. Oh, it's a freaking price tag. Oh well. I got this online. The Enchanted Loom, Mind in the Universe by Jastrow. Yeah. So this is actually a book about evolution. Not really about evolution. Just about yeah, I guess it's about evolution. It begins with the first living creatures are fish. Or the first, bacteria and all that, blah, 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 right? And then you get to fish. And then eventually fish start getting up on the land with their strange giant arms and turn into lizards and reptiles. And then there's some mammals that are born. And one thing that was really neat about this book, and you will give the year here, 81, the segue here about frogs, is it talked about that frogs see black and white, and frogs only recognize three things. Frogs will recognize motion. Frogs do not see, apparently, their environment, like the trees and all that. They only see stuff that moves. They only at least react to stuff that moves. They can still smell and touch and all that, so that's how they walk around. They're aware of a reality that they can walk around in and hop around in, I guess, by feeling it. But their sight is mainly watching for movement. And they can only see 3 kinds of movement. Let me just find it here. They can see... Is it... I'll just get to the point. I'll show you the picture too. Frogs recognize a dot that's moving around erratically in front of them as a fly, and then they fire their tongue out and eat it, right? But if you put... This is an interesting picture. If you put a bunch of dead bugs that are freshly killed and smell like dead bugs and all that, and hang them from a rope and don't move them, they're just stationary like that, a frog will stand there and starve to death. They won't recognize it as something that they can eat. It has to be moving in front of them like a dot, a black dot, or which would be like a fly or something, right? So I thought that was really neat about frogs. Alrighty, another book I got from a book fair, Pirates of Barbary. So not very many people know that even white people were taken as slaves, actually, by the Barbary pirates, which were off African coast. Corsairs, conquests, and captivity. Just like in the Intellectuals and Society series, imperialism is a human construct. It is across all cultures. So is slavery. Absolutely. Yet, of course, the dominant discourse is whites enslaving black, but unfortunately, slavery has been a human abuse of all races and cultures and whatever. 2010. Yeah, this was at a book fair, and it was a reasonable price. It might have been like $4 or $5. Nice binding and everything, and I wonder if it's printed on the others. No, looks like that. Without the dust jacket. It's got a nice picture though, I think, on the front. Oh, there's a friggin' sticker. Oh well. $27, they were regular price. I sure as hell didn't pay that. I would have barely paid 10% for that. Okay, here's another book, The Idea of Progress by Pollard. I was very interested in the idea of progress, the literal meaning of that, how people viewed progress, because you got to consider history, especially religion. When religion is in control, progress is seen as not a sacrilege, but it's getting off tradition is often met with violence. So I was just kind of curious about progress and how progress came about with such rigidity, perhaps. Rigidity? Yeah. No. So I think that's what this is about. I haven't read it yet. Like, consider Galileo and his geocentric view of the world, which means the Earth as the center, as opposed to the Sun as the... Or, I mean... you know what I mean. Anyways. That was... The Catholic Church sure as hell didn't like that. They wanted the geocentric model of the universe, I guess the universe. They wanted the Earth as the center, and so progress was demonized. So, although they knew about heliocentric, is what I wanted to think of. Heliocentric model of the universe. Actually, I think the Greeks knew about that. So, I don't know who would it have been, Ptolemy, or I'm not sure, but yeah, progress, is it always welcomed? That's an open question. The Decline of Imperial Russia, 1855 to 1914. So this is I don't have any books on Russia. This is a cheap book. I'm looking for Harvest of Sorrow. Haven't found it yet. It's supposed to be a good one too. 1952, 1961. Yeah. So this has got all kinds of pieces in it. So this will be interesting if I ever care to look up about Russia. I'm actually really interested in, if you ever played, if you've seen my Let's Play Europa Universalis 3, I think it's really neat about how countries of today were formed, especially in Europe, because Europe was, for a lot of time, a mess. Germany, all those little duchy states, like Hamburg and Lübeck and Ulm and Bavaria, all that was a mess for so long. Even France was a bit of a mess, but they consolidated their country fairly quickly, certainly compared to Germany. Spain was mostly formed, except for Aragon and don't even know what it's called anymore. The Muslim southern part of Spain. That's interesting, eh? Muslim area in the southern bits of Spain. Apparently there's a lot of wars that went on with that. Northern Africa kind of were always in southern Spain. Large parts of Spain were Muslim, or that was a culture anyways. And there's Portugal, of course. So it's very interesting how that stuff kind of came about. I believe Germany was Prussia. That is who took over the HRE eventually, and then formed Germany. I believe it was Prussia, and Prussia, I believe, was formed of the Teutonic Order, but that might not be right. But I think it's very interesting how that stuff forms. So, because all that stuff was a mess. Germany was a huge mess. Alrighty, a couple left here. Merchants of Grain by Dan Morgan. So this is about the giant companies that sell wheat. So obviously they're not giant farms. They're just giant middlemen of trading wheat. So farmers will sell their grain to a mill, which may be owned by a big, huge wheat company, and then that wheat company will sell it to others, and often other countries, especially those countries that need to import it. So here is, there's a couple maps here, and you can kind of see, so there's the maps of where grain was sent and sold, 1880, and then how that changed in 1978, almost 100 years after that. So you see there, one thing to notice here is that the East entered the trade of grain. So, yeah. Ancient India, daily life in ancient India. That's why I picked this up. Daily life. That's what I'm interested in. I don't care about the general culture and the politics and all that. How about what it's like? What do you do day to day? So this is 200 BC to 700 AD. So this is about ancient, perhaps. Yeah. Oh, this is ancient India, doesn't it? I think this was at that book fair. I picked it up. 61, 65, 2002. Yeah. Alrighty, now last two books are giant picture books. This one I picked up not at the book fair, but at like a, I don't know what you call it. I think I got it for, I think it was $10 or $5 or. It's called The World's Great Sailing Ships. So it's a giant picture book. Or it's not a kid's book, but it's got all kinds of wonderful pictures of shipbuilding. Like, look at this. This is gonna be big. So there's building a ship. Let me see if I can get a nice big battleship or like a big. Oh, this is a neat picture. So it's all kinds of nice, neat pictures of books of boats. So that'll complement the games that I play, like Age of Pirates, Patrician, Port Royale. Port Royale 3 is coming out soon. I saw it on Steam, 15% off or something like that, or $33. I'm not going to pay $33 for Port Royale 3. I was unimpressed with Port Royale 2. It was a shitty version of Port Royale. I don't know if Port Royale 3 is better. I would hope that they return to some of the interface of Port Royale 1, but even if it was an awesome game, I wouldn't pay $33 for it. So I'll wait for it to go cheaper, and then maybe I'll play it. And maybe I'll do an LP of Port Royale 3, but not for $33. I won't. Okay, last book, I think, for the new library. The Complete Illustrated History of Knights and the Golden Age of Chivalry. I think they might call this a coffee table book, because you flip through it and all that. This was a book I got off a book fair. I think it was pretty cheap, maybe $8, or it was worth it with all these colored pictures. They could not have made any money on that. So this has got all kinds of neat photos, or well, no photos, pictures of art from the era, as well as inspired photos of what maybe some of the battles look like and the knights and all that. So I'll show you this one here. So stuff like this, and then I'll show you a picture of maybe some knights, and that's going to be it from the new library series. And you're going to have to, if you like, to leave some comments. Any books that you saw that I had that you recommend, and why, it would be helpful to add why. That would be great. And anything else you recommend that I read, anything I said about a book that was wrong, all that kind of stuff is fine and good. Well, maybe I'll get a picture of some knights. How about some knights or something here? There's a castle. I'll give you a castle, I guess. There's a castle. So yeah. That is it for now. That is it. But I'll probably be hitting a bookstore next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend. But yeah. This has been the new library for 2012.